I met Sarah on a rainy Sunday morning, the kind where the church windows fog over and everything feels softer and slower. She was standing near the entrance, tucking a loose curl behind her ear while greeting people as they walked in. I don't know if I believe in love at first sight, but whatever I felt that day came dangerously close. We talked after the service, just small talk really, but something about her voice and the way she listened made me want to stay in that moment forever. Over the next days, we kept running into each other at study groups, youth events, and late evening coffee gatherings hosted by the church. Within 2 weeks, feelings grew fast and unexpectedly. When she smiled and agreed to be my girlfriend, I felt like the world had expanded in front of me. For a short time, everything was perfect. Until I met her parents. One Friday evening, Sarah invited me over for dinner. I spent an hour choosing my shirt, rehearsing polite small talk questions in the mirror. I knew meeting someone's parents was intense, especially so early, but I was hopeful. Her parents welcomed me with wide smiles and a level of energy I wasn't prepared for. Her father, a tall man with a rigid posture, shook my hand so firmly I felt my knuckles click. Her mother looked me up and down like she was calculating something. But what her father said next froze my blood. The wedding is set for 3 months from now. That should give you enough time to prepare. He said it as casually as if he were telling me where the bathroom was. I let out a short laugh, awkward, confused, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. His wife nodded proudly, adding, "We always prayed our daughter would belong to a good man. You're exactly what she needs. Why wait?" My smile slowly melted off my face. 3 months? We'd been dating less than 3 weeks. I glanced at Sarah, expecting her to step in or say something, anything, but she stayed strangely calm. Later that evening, I pulled her aside. "Did you know about this?" I whispered. Her face went pale, then defensive. I didn't think they meant this soon," she muttered. "They didn't tell me until today, I swear." Something in her tone felt rehearsed, but I brushed it off. We watched a movie with her parents like nothing had happened, but the entire time my stomach twisted. That night I barely slept. The next morning I went straight to my dad. He listened while sipping his coffee, eyebrows raised. "Which girl is this?" he asked. "Sarah, the one from church, the one I always bring an extra chair for." He chuckled. "Ah, the chair girl." My mom walked in halfway through the conversation, curious. When she heard the story, she placed a hand on her hip and said, "Well, your father and I got married right out of high school." Dad shot her a look. "Yes, but we dated for years. You've known this girl for 2 weeks." After some back and forth, they agreed. Break up immediately. I hated the idea. I liked Sarah more than I'd liked anyone in years. So instead, I went upstairs and called her. She answered cheerfully. But when she casually mentioned that she and her parents had been looking at wedding dresses online, something inside me snapped. I knew I had to confront her parents before things spiraled even more out of control. The next day, I went to their house with a carefully prepared speech. When I arrived, her parents welcomed me with enthusiasm that felt artificial. Sarah was upstairs, so I asked if I could talk to them alone. Her father leaned back and said, "Go on, son, let's hear it." I explained politely at first how much I cared about their daughter, but how marriage was far too soon. Instantly, their faces hardened. They accused me of wanting her daughter for her body. They said that if I planned to stay with her long term, marriage shouldn't be an issue. They insisted we marry now, end of discussion. No conversation, no compromise, just pressure. I wasn't angry often, but something in me burned hot and fast. They didn't care about what I felt. They didn't even care about what Sarah felt. They only cared about controlling the narrative of their daughter's life. I excused myself and left before I said something I'd regret. That night, I told Sarah I couldn't come over. She said she understood, but I could tell she didn't. The next day, Sarah came to my house. She walked into my room with that bright smile that had once melted my heart. But when she said,
I understand where my parents are coming from. I felt the ground shift beneath me. She genuinely believed marrying after 2 weeks wouldn't be a bad idea. She said she'd been imagining marriage the moment she saw me at church. Her parents had noticed how attentive I was, and she admitted she had hoped I'd become her husband. I realized in that moment that she hadn't fallen in love with me. She had chosen me for a role in a script her parents wrote years ago. When I gently explained I couldn't do it, she turned cold. She accused me of playing with her emotions. Then she stormed out. When my mom came in with cookies, I told her it was over. She dropped the tray in shock. But deep down, I knew it was the right decision. Sarah didn't give up easily. She came over constantly, bringing desserts, movies, board games. She'd laugh with me, enjoy the time, and then right before leaving, she'd ask, "Do you think we could get back together? We're so good together, you know we are." Every time I'd say no. Every time she'd leave with tears in her eyes. And every time I'd follow her outside to make sure she made it to her car okay. It was torture for both of us. Then her parents started showing up. They'd bring peace offerings, compliments, even chocolate cake every week. They were trying to buy their way back into my life. One day they came with Sarah and made a final offer. "We're okay with you dating casually as long as you still plan to marry her." Sarah looked at me with hopeful eyes. I still cared about her. I still wanted her in my life. So I agreed. And for a while, it was magic. The next few months were the best we'd ever had. We applied to colleges together. We went to concerts, late-night diners, long drives. For her birthday, I surprised her with tickets to her favorite indie band. Her happiness made me feel alive. Even her parents seemed relaxed. Her father called me son again, casually, warmly. I let myself believe they had changed, until they proved they hadn't. One afternoon, Sarah tried on her mother's old wedding dress for fun. She looked stunning, glowing even. Her mother asked me what I thought. I told her she looked beautiful, and that was the beginning of the end. 2 weeks later, her parents asked when I planned to pop the question. I stared at them, feeling déjà vu crash over me. They argued like before. Same words, same pressure, same manipulation. Sarah said the same thing she'd said months earlier, that if we're going to marry eventually, the timing didn't matter. But it did. It mattered to me. And once again, I realized they hadn't changed. They only hid their intentions long enough to pull me back in. Breaking up with Sarah a second time hurt much more than the first. This time, we had real memories, real connection, real possibilities. I wanted a future with her, just not one dictated by her parents' obsession with marrying her off as fast as possible. When I ended things, Sarah broke down. In the following weeks, she tried everything, even sending inappropriate photos to lure me back. But I didn't give in. Love isn't supposed to feel like a trap, and I finally chose my freedom over their expectations.